All right, we are rolling. Marvin Haberland, welcome to the Terrain Theory podcast.
Thanks for the invitation.
It's great to have you here to dive into the topic of AI. It's not something that we've touched on this podcast yet, but it's relevant as everything is moving into AI. And you're working on or have developed a platform called NEXIQA, and would love to understand better what NEXIQA is and how we start to use it.
Sure, yeah, let's talk about it today. Actually, we are a German science platform, a science channel that many of the audience might know already from our work over the past years, especially in the COVID time. We are primarily focused on life science topics like virology, health, medicine, and so on. But of course, in general, we dive into every scientific field. For instance, myself, I studied physics and engineering, so we cover a lot of different disciplines, and we try basically to critically assess the evidence quality of a scientific field or work. And we came up with the idea to put all our knowledge into one single application connected to our database, which offers the user to ask questions for all our core topics and for all scientific questions involved in daily life, basically. And we have filled this database over the past, I mean, overall 50 years summed up of all the employees in the company, and basically the database is very, very large, and the KI model, the AI model in English, NEXIQA is an AI model that we ourselves developed and has access to all this data. And this is our newest development.
And so NEXIQA, the user, similar to say a ChatGPT, would open NEXIQA and type a question, some science related question, and then the AI it's like an AI driven search, right? That dives into the data that you've assembled and then synthesizes it and then spits back out an answer.
Exactly. So the AI specifically compares our research, our publications, and our information to what is being presented in the mainstream, if you want to call it like that,
Yeah.
and then makes a assessment of this information and analyzes every information according to the scientific method, and then it gives out the answer. So of course, next level does not cover every scientific topic, this is clear, but the scientific method is applicable to all scientific fields and areas. This is what many people do not understand correctly. So our AI is even has even the option to go beyond our topics and assess certain areas. For instance, we have different core topics, like I mentioned: health, nutrition, virology, germ theory, and genetics, and other areas. But we offer also in the app area where you can analyze every study, every scientific paper publication, and NEXIQA is in real time analyzing this for you and giving you a rough and very quick answer. Is this a publication that has a certain uh, quality, evidence quality? Is it scientifically correct and methodologically correct or not? And this is, I think, it's a world first. I mean, you can use ChatGPT and other engines for this as well, but the problem here is that they are not applying the scientific method in a very, very strict way. ChatGPT and other engines, they more or less they orientate their answer towards what is the medical or scientific consensus,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
But it doesn't reassess the publication unless you specifically ask for it. However, our AI is programmed in a way that it assesses it right away in the scientific way, and really with every criteria you can imagine. So no criteria is left open, and this is world first. And of course, in our main or core areas like nutrition, health, virology, and so on, there you get a very deep understanding of our research and publications and practical work also. Yes, and this is you can, the audience can compare it with ChatGPT. You can ask a random answer there, a random answer in our AI, and you will see the difference. For instance, also a big topic many people might be interested in are supplements,
Mm.
vitamins, supplements, any sort of these subject. And the difference is just enormous. So yeah, it's a big benefit in daily life for sure.
It's a reminder to everyone that AI, any given AI like ChatGPT, is not the ultimate arbiter of truth, that you'll get a variety of answers depending on which AI you use. And so none of them are to be, in my opinion, none of them are to be trusted wholly for their answer. You still, as the user, as the human, need to think critically and compile as much, do more research outside of ChatGPT. That cannot be the only place you go for an answer, or think that that answer is something that you can spit out as the absolute truth. My question to you, Marvin, a follow up question is, and I think this is just to establish our bases and make sure that we're defining our terms. When you say that NEXIQA is using the scientific method, or I should say, analyzing through the scientific method, what do you mean by that? Can you make sure that the audience understands what you mean by the scientific method and what aspects of it NEXIQA is analyzing in any given study?
Yes. So in very simple terms, the scientific method tries to test any given idea or hypothesis about the real world, and tries to connect cause and effect to each other. And let's say I have an idea about a real world phenomenon, and I bring out this hypothesis, then I need to apply the scientific method to establish the cause and effect relationship. For instance, I could do an experiment, and I have to make sure that all variables in an experiment are very, very well controlled. Why? Because, as scientists know, the experiment itself can cause an effect. And this is a big problem in all of science, specifically in nutritional studies, medicine, virology, and any health related topic. And why is it specifically a problem in these areas? Because many of the phenomena and hypotheses that are giving that are told in these areas, that are assessed in these areas, we cannot see them with our own eyes. So we have to rely many times on indirect methods,
Mm.
and this is a big problem of empirical work. And our AI, as you said correctly, none of the AIs should just be trusted blindly. This is of course true for our AI as well. But our AI makes sure for every answer to apply this method very, very strictly, yeah, to all the questions you ask. And this is the biggest difference, I would say, to ChatGPT. We include for our audience or for our customers, we include ChatGPT as well. So you have one app with our core areas, with the study analysis and scientific area, and with GPT option.
Mm.
So you can, for tasks, daily tasks, for any sort of improve a text, or come up with a good structured article, whatever, you can always use the GPT inside our app as well. But if you want critical knowledge and correctly analyze scientific answers, then you can use the other areas.
And so you've trained or taught NEXIQA to analyze the method section of a given experiment or study, I assume, right? That's really where
Yes.
the rubber meets the road, and we learn if any sort of study is using the scientific method to determine cause and effect.
That's correct. Yeah, our AI is specifically trained to just focus on the methodology section of a paper, and all results and all hypotheses are exactly formulated as hypotheses, not as facts. Okay, so our AI makes sure to explicitly point out what are the hypotheses of the paper,
Mm.
and then assessing, is the paper even I mean, does it methodologically even have the strength to test the hypothesis? Is it a real test or is it not a real test? And why not? Is the test correct? Has it weaknesses? What are the strengths? And then it gives you a final assessment in terms of evidence quality. Yeah. And this is not applicable only to papers, it's also applicable to daily questions, for instance, medical advice, medical questions about surgeries, medicines, whatever. You know, it's a very broad tool.
Can you turn NEXIQA loose on something like all of PubMed, or have you at Next Level aggregated all of the studies that you might find on, say, a PubMed into your Next Level database?
Yeah, that's a very good question. For the core areas, nutrition, health, and so on, there they have already a lot of studies assessed from Next Level over the past years, many years, and we have already an assessment done. But, however, we have a single separate section in the app, and if the audience is interested, on our website, which is also available in English, and all the app is available in English as well, we have a lot of use cases where you can see the app, where you can see a demo. In the app, you have a specific area just for analysis of scientific papers. And there, the app is completely, let's say, naked. It does not have any information on any given paper. It assesses every paper from scratch without any influence from Next Level, just by using the scientific method. And this is very valuable because we want to make sure that that every paper is assessed in a individual and straight up way without any influence, and specifically without influence from consensus, scientific consensus, medical consensus, and so on. Yeah.
Marvin, is NEXIQA a product of a company you were already working for? Is it something that grew out of your company, or is it a
Yes,
company from
that's
the ground
correct.
up? That's right.
Yeah. So Next Level is the German science platform. We have a Telegram channel, Twitter, internet site, and so on. And we developed over the past years several products to support our followers. But NEXIQA is now our newest development and is our first product where we also want to go outside of Germany. We have a lot of we put in a lot of effort to present this information in over 50 languages, because we know from experience that many insights and many topics are not available in a lot of areas of the world. Germany is very far advanced in this area, like the US as well, and Australia has, and New Zealand, and so on. But in other parts of the world, this knowledge is completely lacking, and the people are not well aware in most of the cases about these topics. Yeah.
Do you see this as a trend for companies if they want to have credibility with the public, that they're going to need to develop their own AI platform that's more trustworthy than the others, like less mainstream, like you were saying?
Not necessarily. This is a good question that we also ask ourselves. Actually, our idea is that NEXIQA is not a product only of for Next Level, but that NEXIQA serves as a platform in the future, even for others to come on with their own knowledge area. Because, as I said before, we cannot cover all the areas. We will cover in the future other areas, for instance, physics, and also climate change related scientific topics, and so on, and genetics. But of course, we want to allow more knowledge to come on this platform. So our biggest, let's say, USP for this app is not only that it includes our own knowledge, but others can join will be assessed by us and our scientific standards. And if we think the knowledge area is scientifically sound, we will add it on the platform. And therefore, yeah, it's a growing platform. And of course, every company could do this for themselves. But no, I'm not sure if this is a big advantage, because we see the big advantage of platforms. Of course, it comes with disadvantages as well. If a platform censors information, for instance, or violates scientific methodologies. But from our experience and from our audience, they know that we are open. We have an open mind. We are not ideologic, and we apply the method very strictly. So yeah, we are open to any discussion. So this is what offers the credibility for this platform.
Yeah, like brands might do themselves well to align with a product such as yours.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah, go
Well,
ahead, Ben.
what you could envision first, I mean, first NEXIQA would have to have widespread adoption and establish trust among users all around the world that this is where I go for a more scientifically accurate answer on any given topic, like supplements. I think supplements is a great use case, because supplements are multi-billion-dollar industry worldwide. So if you were, say, a supplement company, or just a company that happened to have a line of supplements, and NEXIQA had this ability, you could potentially, on your online shop where you sell your supplements, have a little NEXIQA plugin right
Yeah.
below in the product page, where the user could go, what does NEXIQA think about this product? Like
Yeah.
elderberry syrup, for example, or like an elderberry gummy. And
Mhm.
NEXIQA could analyze the scientific studies on elderberry and determine, is this pseudoscience, or can we determine that elderberry actually scientifically has been proven to have, any sort of benefit to the human body and conditions
Yeah.
and health. I mean, that would become a powerful tool for a company, provided, of course, NEXIQA can determine that a supplement is useful or not useful. I mean, I'm sure, and I'd like to get into it with you. You've determined at Next Level in your evaluations of supplements and vitamins that there's a lot of claims that are made that are not substantiated or backed by science. Is that true?
Yeah, that is true. And that is also the reason why your recommendation is a very good one, but it comes with a conflict of interests for most companies.
Yeah,
Because what we say, what we publish, is oftentimes a problem for medical, pharmaceutical companies, or also supplement companies.
sure.
And yeah.
Well, so as that supplement company, you would want to, or I would say anyone who's thinking about getting into this and selling this stuff, they would first go to NEXIQA and determine what are the supplements that have been proven scientifically to have any sort of benefit to me. And those are the only ones I'm going to work with. And then I've got NEXIQA's results to sort of back me up. And this is a great way to eliminate the ones that don't have any sort of benefit or haven't been scientifically proven.
Right. I see the main advantage here on the customer side,
Yeah.
so that the customer can use NEXIQA to evaluate if a product, a therapy, a medicine, surgery, whatever, is backed up scientifically or not. Not necessarily that the companies that sell these products or therapies use NEXIQA, because, as I said again, yes, it would be nice if they would do that, but it's very
Of course.
unrealistic, because it's a big conflict of interest. Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna cut into their profits and their bottom line. Absolutely.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Can you give us an example of a popular vitamin or supplement that you at Next Level and perhaps NEXIQA would back up, simply does not provide any benefit?
Sure. I think one of the supplements that are most, uh, wrongly understood worldwide has become the vitamin D supplement, vitamin D3, cholecalciferol, whatever. The problem, even for me, many many years ago when I was young, I thought vitamin D. When I figured this out, when I discovered this information, I thought it's the holy grail. I thought this would change my entire health and life. and I was not very, very critically and scientifically educated when I was so young at that time. However, now I assess the situation completely different, because we at Next Level, basically, we tried to find in all of the randomized controlled trials carried out worldwide that are double blind, placebo controlled, and only focus on the hard clinical endpoints, on the real health outcomes. Is there any paper providing evidence, high level evidence? And we didn't find any papers providing a high amount of evidence that vitamin D supplementation, for example, is an effective way to improve the health. We have found studies that vitamin D is one of the strongest toxins for rodents, actually, specifically for rats and mice. And cholecalciferol, the substance, is has a pretty interesting toxicological profile. So people should look into that information. And as I said, there is no high quality evidence that vitamin D supplementation, first of all, there is no scientific proof that vitamin D as a vitamin and molecule even exists in the postulated form and in its abilities in the body. This is the first thing. Okay, this comes first. Second, there is no study showing any effectiveness. So just to give you a preview. Yes.
We're going to have a lot of audience members throwing out their vitamin D bottle, perhaps, or at least hopefully looking into it. Marvin, how do you teach AI or program AI to think critically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very good topic or question, and this is in the entire development for NEXIQA. This was actually the most difficult task, because we use as a base the language models from OpenAI, the same models that ChatGPT use. And it was so difficult to let the models forget basically the mainstream, the scientific consensus, and just focus on the scientific methodology correct things and information. This was incredibly difficult. And the way we did it is by just analyze many studies ourselves, providing data samples basically, and training the model on that, and also make sure in countless days and months of testing that any wrong answer that comes in from the mainstream model is cut up and corrected. And yeah, this is it.
Yeah, I'd say that to me is one of the biggest challenges in my own mind, in my own life, in adoption of AI or trust of AI, really, is it seems to me that AI is only as trustworthy as the people who designed it. And as we see with ChatGPT, the answers it gives you are more aligned with mainstream or consensus. And we know, as we start to evaluate in this terrain conversation the problems with, say, virology, that ChatGPT is still giving mainstream or consensus answers around the existence of pathogenic viruses. Therefore, how can I trust ChatGPT? And so I apply that same level of, I would say, suspicion, trust but verify, perhaps, to any sort of AI, even something like NEXIQA, which appears obviously like you've put a lot of thought into the design of this thing.
ChatGPT is a very powerful tool as well. And if you know how to use it correctly, it will give you the correct answer, even in virology. But this only works if the user already knows that there is not a correct scientific proof.
Yeah.
A new user who doesn't know that will never receive this answer. You can tell ChatGPT exactly how it should assess the information, and then it will also provide you with the correct answer. But this comes, as I said, you have to have the knowledge already, so it doesn't really make sense, and you have to you have to go through a big context of question and answers together with the AI, So then it works correctly. So you have in your chat to program ChatGPT basically to work scientifically correct. And this is, of course, what we saw when ChatGPT was published. And we thought, okay, maybe we can change this and apply this methodology correctly right from the beginning, even for even new people. And a big difference is also ChatGPT is does not provide a lot of scientific references directly. It just points to some websites and so on. Whereas NEXIQA really gives you the direct source to a publication, to the primary literature, and the direct DOE address, so everyone can, of course, check what is NEXIQA saying. Is this correct or not? And not through a third-party website, but directly straight to the primarily published original publication.
Yeah, that's a very helpful feature. It dawns on me with some humor that you're teaching AI how to think critically, and we're trying to teach humans how to think critically. We're
Right.
not even there yet as a species.
No, for sure.
In your work with Next Level, as you start to evaluate studies within like topics like health and virology, germ theory, what conclusions have you drawn personally or within Next Level as an organization about the state of science globally?
We came to the conclusion that science globally has a big problem of confounding what are hypotheses and concepts, models and concepts, with real cause and effect discoveries and reproducible results. This is one of the biggest problems in science. And of course, that the scientific method, specifically in the field of medicine, virology, and others, nutritional studies, is not applied correctly. And epidemiological studies are used by media and magazines and medical organizations as causative proof, where there can only be used to generate hypotheses at best. Okay, and this is a big problem as well.
Yeah, epidemiology is just a really observation. It's not study or experiment, is it?
Yeah, it's not a scientific experiment, and people should understand this very, very clearly, that this is not science. Okay, it is a little it is the start of a scientific approach, but it's not science.
Yeah. Mike, you got something?
Sorry, I was muted. Marvin, can we go back in time? How did you get your start as a scientist? What's your origin story?
So I started to study physics in Germany, in Aachen, and then I changed to the field of engineering. And I graduated from UC Berkeley, next to San Francisco. And I was very, lucky to receive a scholarship, a Fulbright scholarship, to come to the US and finish my studies at this university. This was always my dream. And for instance, I met when he was still alive, I met Kary Mullis, the inventor of the PCR method at Berkeley. And this motivated me to go in this, many critical scientists in the field of germ theory, virology, actually worked at Berkeley, even today. And this influenced me to go in this field and deviate a little bit from physics and engineering.
That's incredible. What can you tell us about working with Kary Mullis? Because he's somewhat of a legend, especially now that he's passed, and in light of the times we're living through. What was it like to converse with him?
Yeah, it was, a big. Of course, I read before about him, and but when and I saw many documentations about him. I think House of Numbers was one where he was mentioned very often. How he criticizes the proof for HIV/AIDS, and that there is actually not a scientific proof for it. And with this knowledge, I went into a lecture, and I contacted him, and I discovered that what he says is sound. I try to check if this is correct. I try to check if I can find it myself, if his and others' arguments are, if they are scientifically correct or not. I checked it myself, and I always do that. I never just take it for granted. And we at Next Level work in this way. And yeah, when I found out that his claims can be validated by myself, this was a big discovery for me, and really changed my whole critical thinking in the years forward.
And what years were those? And how old were you then?
This was in 2017, 18, when I found out this knowledge and discoveries from him, and I was 25 by that time. Just almost graduating from UC Berkeley, like in the middle of my graduate degree. Yeah, so I was always critical before that, but not in this regard. Yeah.
So relatively recently, relatively speaking, and
Yes.
you're also relatively young, which I think gives you an advantage because a lot of people just have such a hard time unlearning the dogma, whereas you're really coming at it as a young man who's already critically thinking, and so this is your foundation. This is the knowledge base you're using as your foundation, so you don't have to unlearn really
Mhm.
anything moving
Yeah, that's
forward.
a very good point. And another one is, many people criticized me that I just apply this to medicine or virology, but I don't criticize my own fields, engineering and physics. But this is not true. I always criticize my own fields as well, and we at Next Level do that. For instance, in physics, anything that in the past 100 years was postulated in the theoretical physics is just that, theoretical. It's not even theoretical most of the time. It's just hypothesis, because there are no experiments or tests that confirmed the hypothesis. So it cannot be called a theory. And this is something that I and we at Next Level also are very critical on. For instance, in the field of nuclear physics, electrons, quantum physics, any sort of these kind of areas, relativity. So you have to be very careful. What is a model? What is a hypothesis? And what is a concept? Yeah.
So, for lack of a better term, this is potentially incredibly disruptive to all industries. I mean, have you gotten into the study of things like ether and free energy and that horizon?
Yeah, for sure. I read, all the original papers from Einstein. They are written in German, so for me, very easy. The theory of relativity, which is the specific one, and the general one, and then the papers from Michelson Morley, the experiment to assess the ether and relative motion towards the Earth, and so on and so forth. So I know very well the research in this area as well. Also, I know very well the research in the area of Big Bang theory, how they try to discover the background noise, the background radiation, and so on. So I know that there are a lot of problems and flaws in these areas, and we at Next Level we'll make sure to cover these areas as well in the future, and bring them onto NEXIQA as well. However, at the moment, our core topics are in the life sciences. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing at a time. How many people are part of Next Level?
Yeah, this is, I cannot disclose directly because many people in our team uh, have to stay anonymous due to
Right.
obvious reasons. But uh, more or less, in the area of 10 to 15 people.
Got it. And you're the spokesperson. You're the public face.
Yeah, I'm the public face because I never had a problem going out and exposing the truth, even if that came with big disadvantages for me. But I always knew that this could happen, and for me, this wasn't a problem. I didn't fear to lose, money or my existence, my job. And therefore, I decided in Germany in the COVID time to really make my court cases public, my court cases against virology. And I don't regret. I don't regret this.
Yeah, again, I think that's where your youth is an advantage, and also your demeanor, of course. But can you talk about the court cases a little bit? I've heard just dribs and drabs, but I'd love to hear it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, so right in the beginning in the COVID time, there were measures in Germany, all over the world, basically for the masks mandates and so on. And you couldn't meet with more than 2 people. You couldn't go out in the lockdown and so on. So I directly tried to provoke fines from the government by not wearing a mask, by just going outside when I wanted, doing a barbecue in the park with friends and so on. So I collected many fines to just bring them into the court system as quickly as possible, which then turned out to, almost, I had to wait 2 years almost in order to get my process. I think they did it on purpose, so that this could not be a problem for their politics. But then finally, when I had my court case in Germany for the mask mandate, I brought all the evidence from Next Level in our strategy, because the German law of infectious disease, which is the basic for everything that is correlated to these measures and medical measures in Germany, states in the first paragraph that it has to follow the scientific method. I think this is unique worldwide. I don't know that of any other law that specifically says that, but in the German infectious law of disease, it is specifically said. And this, of course, opened the door for me to go to the court and say, hey, here you say every virologist, the Center for Disease Control of Germany, the Robert Koch Institute specifically, and any medical doctor, any medical institution has to follow the scientific method by law. So in Germany, we have an organization called the German Science Foundation, and they decide what is the scientific method. And the RKI, the CDC of Germany, has to follow this method. And it says specifically every method has to be controlled. Every variable has to be controlled. Every experiment has to be blinded, if possible. And all sorts of these things. Everything has to be documented, And just with these 3 rules, I went to the court and said, look at the virology publications, non-control experiments, no blinding, no documentation of all the steps. And I filed all the FOIs, Freedom of Information Acts, from all over the world that Christine Messer and we at Next Level also, collected over the years. And with all of this evidence, my case was just closed. I didn't have to pay the fine. It was just closed. And that's it. And many other people that used the strategy were successful also to just close the case and not pay the fine. And up until this day, not one case was lost finally with this strategy. So for Germany, for pharmaceutical companies and for the German medical establishment, this is a big problem that the law says that everything has to be according to the scientific method. And we are currently, with many parents and families in Germany, in the court for the measles vaccine mandate. In Germany, it is mandatory to vaccinate your children against measles. And we are now in the upper German higher court already in the second level to basically force the judge and the court to analyze the studies, because all studies on the measles virus that are published by the Robert Koch Institute, all of them use genome sequencing. And the Robert Koch Institute themselves and the German Ministry of Health say that genome sequencing is not a causative proof of a virus by definition. It can just show associations, which is correct. And this is very, very, this is our first proof there. And then, of course, also that none steps in these studies are controlled. none of them are blinded, so they all violate the rules, the scientific rules by the German Science Foundation. So this is the status quo update where we stand today in Germany.
That's remarkable. And so, in other words, the measles virus has never been proven to exist using the scientific method.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes, and this was even so. And this is also why NEXIQA is very valuable to the world, because in Germany there were a couple of court processes already on the measles virus, and specifically on this question. For instance, 2015, 2016, by a German virologist Stefan
Yeah,
Lanka,
Stefan Lanka. Yeah.
who he offered 100,000 euros for the proof of a virus.
Yep.
And in this court trial, the virologist who was invited by the court as a witness already said that there is no, in the scientific literature, in the scientific studies, there is no single proof. None of the publications control all the method. Genome sequencing is not a method that can be used to prove a virus. He said that as well. So not only the RKI says that, but also the virologist from the court. So there are so many things coming out of the German court system and these cases that are, I think, valuable for also to apply in other countries and other languages. And this is all included in NEXIQA as well, all of this knowledge. Yeah.
Do you suspect that there will be a push to remove that language from German law, that it has to abide by the scientific method in order to?
No,
You don't. Okay.
I don't think so, because of course, if they this is funny, because me and my team, we thought about this question as well during my own case. But I think if they did that, they would lose completely all the trust, even from the mainstream scientists, if they would remove this first clause of the scientific method.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think this is a risk, and I am very confident that it will always work, this strategy that we use.
Do you sense or see that the successful closure of your case and other cases, and also the results of, say, Stefan Lanka's, do you see that opening the eyes of more German scientists to the pseudoscience of, say, virology, for example?
It depends on where they get this information from. If they get this information from mainstream channels, mainstream media, they will say that the cases were only closed, for instance, in my case, because the witness, the police officer did not remember me, and so on, which is not true.
Okay.
But or Stefan's case was just won by him because of formal issues in the process, and so on. They will always try to deceive the public. But if someone goes through the original documentation of the court, the protocols, what was said by the virologist, what does the evidence says, then it is very easy for any scientist in 5 minutes to understand the problem. Very easy.
Yeah. So in other words, you depend on the scientists to think critically about the results of a given case.
Yes, of course. Yeah. To check at least everyone should check the original protocols of the court, of the process, and then he will read what the virologist said himself, and this will be enough to understand.
Sure, sure. Just like anyone in the public going to a study or an experiment and checking the method section.
Yeah, I mean, for this, this is true, of course, but of course, we understand that many people don't have the time, the capabilities to do that, and so on. So this is also why we thought about NEXIQA, to just ease this process, and not take away the competence and this task from the people, but just support the people with this, and then even explaining, okay, where can you find these studies, where can you find the protocols, how can you interpret and read them. even bringing out it in a more simple language for people that are not so sound with the scientific method, explaining the scientific method to the people. Okay, how is it carried out? What are the most important steps? And then explicitly point out in any given paper, why is there a problem with a certain methodology.
Yeah, in your keynote speech that you have on YouTube, and we'll put the link to that in the show notes. I think you call it an assistant. It's sort of like having a well-trained research assistant right in your pocket.
Yes, because many of the questions that we have in our daily life basically come down to a certain recommendation based on science. Okay, this is the reality of today. And any given claim by any organization, company, government, doctors, whatever, uh, they all try to rely on the scientific method because they know that this sounds very, very strong for most people. It's a very good marketing also. And NEXIQA here really helps the people to check if this is really scientific or not.
Yeah, I mean, I would
Yeah.
say so much of the policy that we've seen in the past 4 years from a state by state basis in the U.S. is purported to be backed by science, and we find out years later that there's a lot of questions around that, but it's too late. What we need is in real time, the moment there's a mandate or a policy, is to have something like NEXIQA in the hands of everybody to look at and go, actually, this isn't backed by science. And then you've got critical mass to push back against any policy or mandate that is draconian and not science backed.
Right. And I want to talk about a very, very important point regarding this topic. Many people, because of all these problems and because they see that there are so many conflicting informations and that there are so many problems in science, they completely start to disregard scientific method completely in general. And this is something we want to make sure that people understand. The scientific method, if applied correctly, can be very, very helpful and valuable to understand nature, to perform any sort of solution to real life problems. But of course, if the method is not applied correctly, it's not a problem of the scientific method. It's a problem of the scientists or that didn't work correctly. And this we want to point out to many people, even in our followership. Many people are basically very afraid or think the scientific method is stupid or does not work. But this is something we want to point out, and that the scientific method has limitations, even if carried out correctly. It always has limitations. First, because you never can make sure that you isolated all independent and dependent variables in your experiment correctly. This is always an assumption in every experiment. You will never be able to prove that the variable is independent. It's impossible to prove that. And therefore, the scientific method always has a limitation and will always have a limitation.
That's a great point and a great reminder, but also a noble and admirable mission to really restore science to where it should be. Right, restore the credibility to science, and for lack of a better word, police science to do better.
Yes, this is our mission, basically.
Yeah. Um, so I have a question, and this is, I guess, getting more into your personal opinion, but maybe not. Maybe this is science backed. I'm going to make an assumption that through your work at Next Level, you also arrive at the conclusion that pathogenic viruses have never been proven to exist using the scientific method. Is that correct?
Yes, this is correct.
Then
And I want to add that Next Level, our Telegram channel, is shadow banned for since many months. So nobody can find the channel. Even with the direct channel name, you cannot find the channel. You cannot go to the channel. The only way to go to the channel is by the direct hyperlink. And this is already should be alerting to most people that what we say, what we do, because we only cover scientific topics. We do not cover, uh, you know, uh, criminal activities like drug selling or whatever, weapons, child abuse, where you could think pornography, where you could think, okay, it makes sense that they get censored. However, we just are a scientific channel, and I think we are the only scientific channel on Telegram that is censored actually. So yeah, so we came to this conclusion, and because we only use the scientific methods, so we don't what many other channels do, critical channels, they try to always point out to the to the side effects of vaccines, or to the poisons in the vaccines, or to viruses developed in the laboratory, and all of these deceiving paths. And we don't do that at all. We just focus on the scientific method itself. And this, for many people, might be a problem, and the reason why we got shadow banned. But yes, okay. Yes, this is our.
That's your conclusion, right? So
Yeah.
let me ask you. Then let me ask you a question, and this is more speculation, perhaps, but one I'm sure that you and your colleagues at Next Level ask: if viruses aren't making us sick, what do you think makes us ill? Why do we have symptoms of illness?
Yeah, here we come to the theory of the terrain theory also, which we support at X level in a slightly different way, but overall we support this. Basically, our conclusion is that most of the symptoms come from strain on the body, any sort of toxicity, for example, or strain, or by, even by psychological strain can be causing also some symptoms. So yeah, we try to find for every symptom the cause, and I think this is what you do as well, and this is a big difference to the to the medical profession, which tries to focus on how to cover a symptom or how to treat a symptom. This is not at all what we do. Our approach is completely different. We try to understand where does the symptom come from, and as quickly as possible turn off the cause, and then the symptom goes away.
You've done some work on German new medicine? Is that correct?
Yes, as well. Yeah.
And what
So to be clear, the German new medicine by Dr. Gerd Hamer, or how we call it, the five biological laws of nature, is not a theory that we portray as being very scientifically proven or whatever. It's just a theory, or an hypothesis, a system of hypothesis that many people apply quite successfully. And Gerd Hamer, the inventor of this theory, he tried to, publish his work, his scientific papers in the universities, but he was blocked. Okay, this should be understood, that in the historical process, it was very, very difficult for him to actually, like for us today, we carried out control experiments to disprove virology, with cell culture, cytopathic effect, and so on, with genome sequencing. We carried out all of these control experiments, and we cannot publish them anywhere. We get blocked. So in the peer-reviewed papers and so on. So I just want to provide this information. It's a kind of an analog situation. However, today we just say to the people, look, the new German medicine, or five biological laws of nature, this is a hypothesis, it's an approach. Try to test it for yourself, try to use it. If it works, great. If it does not work, the cause of the symptoms might lie in another area. For instance, in a toxicological area, strain on the body by nutrition, for example, by other factors. So we just want to provide several areas, and people should learn how to assess the situation on their own principles, but with this broad information, and then cure the symptoms and become healthy again.
Marvin, I'd love to get your take on something. I'm not quite sure how to formulate this as a question, but it's in the realm of this transhumanism agenda and nature versus machine, and really cause and effect also. But several times I've had the experience, maybe you have as well, where you're thinking about something, or maybe you can't quite bring up someone's name. Then the next time you pick up your phone, there it is. It's the first thing you see. And the conspiratorial part of me says, like, well, they're reading my mind, or they're scanning my energetic imprint, and my wife pushes back. She's like, well, how do you know that's just not your powerful intuition channeling the information that you need? Which is a fair point, and I prefer to land on that side of the spectrum. But what is your take on that? How powerful are these transhumanists? Is this technology already in play, or is it more just fear porn?
Yeah, for this I would need the code, the source code of the program. Just see if they use any input by voice or by text for the marketing, for the specific marketing of their apps or whatever. But I think this is the case. This is going on. This is very obvious to people that use social media platforms that if they look for certain topics, or if they provide certain areas of interest, that these will point out after some time or days or hours in their search results. Yeah, people should just be aware of that. I don't think this is a problem. People should just know that. And I want to point out that there is the risk of bias here, of course, as well. Because if you think about a topic very often and then it appears somewhere, you make a biased connection, a confirmation bias that, oh, it must be because they heard what I said, or it must be because somebody spooked out on me or whatever. But we need to be careful also on this confirmation bias. This is very important as well.
Yeah, that's fair. And now that I think about it, this was someone where I just couldn't think of this person's name. This was a sort of a dissident environmentalist, and I had been asked to put together a panel on environmentalism, which of course is kind of a loaded topic in this day and age. And yeah, to paint in broad strokes, these were people more coming from the traditional leftist environmental movement, which is very stuck in the climate change narrative, and doesn't seem willing to look beyond that. And I wanted to balance it with somebody who, like, again, is more of a dissident. And I couldn't come up with their name, but now that I hear you mention your ideas, it's possible that the things that I did say out loud, there's this person and they're an environmentalist and they're more of a dissident and they don't espouse the tradition. And that might have been enough to be like, bing, this is the person you were thinking of. It wasn't just that the name that escaped me popped up. So the data is I maybe underestimated how much data I was spewing out into that
Right.
microphone. Right.
Yeah, I think if I'm informed correctly, most of the social media outlets and apps create some sort of a profile, and then they target specific information to you, or marketing. So yeah, this could be.
Marvin, if you were in charge of science and could direct science and the funding to research specific topics, where would you want to see science really start to explore?
Oh, good question. I think I would like to go more deeper in the health topics, because as of today, nobody can clearly say what causes measles, for example. Okay. We don't have this single variable called a virus or whatever to create in a controlled experiment this condition. Yeah, we can replicate a condition sometimes in some experiments, but not always and replicatable. So some symptoms are really not well studied and understood. And yeah, I would love to know more about this, and I would do way more. I would channel way more funding towards nutritional studies carried out in an experimental way, not in an epidemiological way. And I would like to really show to the people that nutrition is one of the biggest variables in my assessment regarding to health, and carry out more controlled experiments in this area.
Yeah, I love it. Well, okay, let's stick with the personal questions as we come to a close on this episode. Marvin, we'll ask you a question we ask all our guests. What are your non-negotiables, the daily habits that you do to tend to your terrain?
Yeah, so non-negotiables for me is I try to always reduce the strain on my body as much as I can, specifically, of course, in my diet and nutrition. So I try to eat very naturally. I try to eat raw foods as much as possible that are, um, you know, uh, that are edible for humans. So I'm not talking about any plants, but more on things that we can digest properly and eat properly. And yeah, for with these measures, I stay very healthy and active. I didn't go to the doctor since this time in Berkeley, since how many years now? 7, 8 years. Never been to the doctor again. Cured all of my symptoms by myself with my measures. So symptoms that my doctors told me would never go away, that I would need surgery for that, and so on and so forth. So I know by fact that the body is a completely renewable, regenerative resource, unless you lose, of course, a full hand or something like that. But any tissue that is damaged or organs can be restored if you reduce the strain on the body. And this is what I do in my daily routine to make sure that my body is in a healthy, balanced terrain. Yes.
What can you tell us what some of those symptoms were?
So when I was sitting in Berkeley in these lectures, I could not sit longer than 10 minutes because my whole lower spine, lumbar area was completely degenerated. In the MRT images, you could see that all the spine was black, not white. All was black. I had terrible back pain, lower back. I had to, do these exercises like 10 times a day to crack again my back and to be able to, I had terrible pain. I got many, injections for pain relief, and it was just terrible. So 3 4 years of my life, like a young adult, were very very painful. And yeah, the quality of life was very low. And this was one of my biggest problems. Then my skin, I had terrible acne, like all over the place. This went away in 3 weeks by changing the diet to a proper human specific diet. And then I should receive surgery for my shoulder because I couldn't lift up my arm higher than this. I had terrible arthritis in my right shoulder, and this also completely went away by itself, which the doctor deemed as incurable. So yeah, these were basically the three main symptoms. Other than that, I was healthy. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I want to really, really quickly pull on this thread around eating digestible raw foods, but not vegetables. What are some of the digestible raw foods that you're consuming?
Yeah, so for this question, I try to project myself into nature, any natural environment, and think about, okay, what could I eat as a human in this area? So what is left over most of the time is flesh from animals, any sort of flesh, internal organs, muscle meat, any other things like eggs or milk and so on. So these are all digestible foods for humans in its raw state. Then honey is a natural source that humans can digest very well, and the fruit flesh of botanical fruits can be digested very good by humans as well. Yeah, what cannot be digested at all is the shell of any fruit, the seed of any plant, the roots, the leaves, the stems. Uh, what else? Of course, any other natural material like stones or rocks cannot be digested. So this is what I try to follow, and any animal follows this by nature automatically already. However, humans get trained and educated in a different area, far away from nature, which causes then a lot of problems. However, if you stay close to natural sources and to nature within your diet, you will be fine.
Do you find that you're eating animal meat raw?
Yes, I eat animal meat raw exclusively almost since 8 years now.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the time, of course. Sometimes I'm not a ideologist. Sometimes I like also to grill steak.
Yeah.
However, I like it rare than not medium or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just notice if I eat it raw, it comes with so many benefits. Digestion is better. Um, Way better. Energy is better. Overall satiety is way better. Yeah, so concentration is better. Focus, sharp focus. Everything is better. So in my scientific research at Next Level, we focused a lot on scientific experiments on cooking foods and how this affects health of humans as well as animals, both studies. And I always found out in every study carried out so far in the literature that the more the food is processed or cooked, that the higher the degree of degeneration and symptoms, no matter in humans and cats and in monkeys, rabbits, mice, sheep, horse, like it doesn't matter, any living creature. This is a natural law for every living being. And it's also very easy to understand. Every process changes the structure of a natural substance, and the body has difficulties to understand the energy,
Mm.
and to absorb the energy in an original way. And the process of food and the cooking of food not only destroys energy but increases the strain on the body, the toxicity, for example. So, two things to consider here.
Yeah, remarkable. Yeah, I think Michael, we're gonna have to explore more the raw meat diet because I have noticed more and more people starting to experiment with eating meat raw, and all I see are positive benefits coming out of those folks. So, yeah, thank you for reminding us of that, Marvin. Pointing us in that direction. And Marvin, where can the listener learn more about you and the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so for one thing in NEXIQA, there is basically a free of charge area. So everyone can download NEXIQA free of charge and use this next level topic area for free all the time, which contains a lot of information about our work, our publications. I want to specifically point out our interview section on our website. There you will be able to find over 15 interviews that I gave to many people, even in English. You will find 2 interviews to Sam Bailey, interview to Tom Carwin. So yeah, many international interviews as well. So yeah, this there you can learn more about me and my work for
Excellent.
sure.
And we'll put the links in the show notes so people can go right there and download the app and also the web app as well, so they can start to explore. Marvin Haberland, thank you so much for joining us on the Train Theory podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure for me. Thank you very much.
And folks, welcome to the Pineal Room with your hosts, Ben and Mike.
Like everything, Mike, you do a better job than I do.
Foolishness.
Foolishness. Yeah, you take hockey sticks to the head better than I do.
Good God, I better get on that raw food diet. Do some quick healing. Who knew that cooked food was a psyop?
Cooked food is a psyop. It's what was it? The raw meat experiment guy. Remember, he was doing like raw beef, and then he was doing raw chicken.
Yeah, every day.
Right, every day. And I think his line was eating raw chicken every day till I get a tummy ache.
Now, I surmised he was sourcing this chicken from a reputable farm or something. He wasn't
I believe
just
he
going
was,
to
yeah.
like the Big Y and getting chicken.
No, I think he was very clear on that too. He was asked that question many times. I think he was getting it healthy chicken, healthy meat. Yeah, like grass fed, free ranged, no injections or anything.
Yep.
So that's obviously like a caveat to anyone out there who wants to experiment with raw meat. But I've seen this more and more, particularly over the last 4 years, folks who are eating their meat raw. And I've got a tenderloin from the folks up the road, from the farm up the road. And I've done this a couple times now, just making some steak tartare. So just thawing it, chopping it up with a couple other ingredients, and
Mhm.
it's uncooked meat, and it's probably one of the most satisfying things I have ever eaten.
And it's literally from next door.
Just from next door, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get much more local than that.
It doesn't. And so I've got some of their ground beef thawing right now, and I struggle to imagine myself just taking like a fistful of that raw beef and just straight into my mouth.
With the ground beef.
Yeah, I struggle to imagine that.
It's funny. The only thing that in recent meals that I've prepared when there's ground beef involved, I've started like nibbling on it as I'm cooking it, but like kind of secretly covet the raw meat. But the only thing keeping me from going all in is the indoctrination of having been raised with, you got to cook your meat. There's going to be bacteria in there, blah, 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 which
Same.
is pervasive. But it's funny now that you mention it. I went to a restaurant a long time ago, 15, 16, 17 years ago, and they had steak tartare on the menu. And that's what I ordered. Like, just my intuition has always kind of been drawn to it. And I remember loving it. And have I had it since? Only these little dribs and drabs. But, we buy a cow from a local farm, and it's, pretty much a wholesome grass-fed animal. So maybe this is going to encourage me. It's so funny when he said he eats raw foods, like immediately in my mind, you think vegetables. You just think that's the only context we have it.
Grated carrot and fresh greens and a ripe plucked tomato.
I never heard flesh put in the list of from a raw foodist. Amazing.
Yep, I'm there. Listen, you know how we do. And listener, you know how we do.
I'm all in.
We love to hear this stuff and then immediately try to integrate it. And steak tartare, raw fish, obviously.
You're already doing the Yoki coffee.
Exactly. Like raw eggs are a part of my existence. I love raw eggs.
Every day now.
Every day, pretty much every day. Like the yolk of an egg, I do not like my yolk cooked. I've always been a sunny side up guy. And when you do steak tartare, you put the egg on top. You put the little egg yolk on top. You make a little bowl. You put the egg yolk on top, and then you break that, and then it drips over your raw steak.
Tartaria. Steak tartaria. That's where it comes from.
I like your approach, which is when you're preparing this, as you normally would, just start taking little nibbles. Like I've got the ground beef thawing. I was going to make something for Grayson and I tonight, but I can take that raw stuff and just, all right, I'm going to do a little,
ease
I'll try a spoonful. I'm going to try a spoonful, a little forkful, and just see how it is on my palate. Cause just like you, it's all just the indoctrination. You've got to cook your food or you're going to get sick.
Isn't that funny? But even you just said that you gladly prepared yourself a tenderloin steak tartare meal, but you still have hesitation over ground beef.
I know it's probably because you chop this thing up nice and fine, and then you are adding some other ingredients.
Sure. Okay.
To add some flavor,
right.
And so you're masking a little bit that it is uncooked.
Okay.
Whereas if you just took the tenderloin, chopped that thing up, put no extra ingredients in it, or just started ripping hunks of it off in your mouth, there's a difference there.
It's also got me thinking, I like to make my dehydrated beef liver, but and again, when I'm preparing it, I'll slurp down a couple pieces, which is pretty intense, honestly.
Yeah.
Liver is not to be trifled with on the palate.
Yes.
But, I kind of look forward to loading it up, like you said, salt, pepper, maple syrup, whatever you can throw at it. But I'm going to embrace eating more raw liver. Absolutely. I'm all in.
So folks, we had a chat with Marvin after we stopped recording, and we are absolutely going to get him back on because I think the conversation around supplements and vitamins in particular is a really interesting one.
Yep.
We want to dive into that a little bit more, but also this exploration around the preparation of food and the cooking of food. And I would love to know, there must be a difference. I mean, there clearly is a difference between just gently dehydrating meat or beef versus over a blazing fire,
right? Scorching
it, or at 425 in the oven. A gentle dehydration or gentle smoking, for example, of meat. I wonder if that has less of an effect on the changing of whatever the energetic quality of that meat is.
Yeah, and that's more in line with an ancestral process of what is the word I can't think of? Just preserving,
Preserving.
preservation.
Exactly. Yeah, because you can't be out there every day hunting and killing. Like you have a abundance. If you take down a big one, you have an abundance. You want it to last for you and your family and your tribe.
Yeah, dude, that guy blew me away. I've heard Marvin's name for a long time, and it wasn't until he brought up the court cases in Germany that the light bulb went off. And,
Yeah.
his name came up talking with Tom Cowan a couple of years ago. This guy Marvin has been challenging the German courts on the scientific method, but I didn't realize that it's the same Marvin.
Same Marvin.
Same dude. I mean, that guy is high functioning. I mean, I kept thinking the whole time, as you've heard me say often, that health is the most it's the most controversial topic of them all.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only channel on Telegram that's shadow banned.
Well, who knows?
Right.
Like,
We don't know the other ones.
Channels. Right. Yeah. Yeah. However, they are, he knows they're shadow banned.
But the fact that he can't get traction on some of the other alternative media platforms because of their basically anti-supplement stance. I wonder where cell salts fall into that stance.
Is that it's a great question.
Because it's somewhere between homeopathy and an actual substance, but we got to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, cell salt is more like a salt, a mineral, but this is something that is fundamental, but different from a vitamin. I mean, can we prove the existence of a salt, and its function within the body? Mm-hmm. Probably more so clearly than vitamin D.
Yep. Yeah, it was nice to finally get some clarity on someone just taking a shot at vitamin D, because I've been hearing dribs and drabs about that as well.
Yeah,
he's just that was the first one.
As you know, this was like my instinct almost from day one, right? As we were talking about terrain theory and creating a website and okay, we can throw some things up like elderberry, like things that we believe in. And from day one in the back of my mind, I've been like, I don't think so. I don't know that I believe in any supplementation. I think you should be getting it 100% from your diet and your lifestyle, like grounding and sunlight and sleep and all that good stuff. And this validates that. And I want to go a little bit deeper because I have no problem just saying no to all that stuff. I've sort of seen it for what it is. You see everyone peddle it, and you get this suspicion that anyone, even in the alternative space, they're pushing something. And the moment that you start selling a thing, you are bought in. You have a financial incentive to continue to push that thing, and then financial incentive to no longer have an open mind as to the validity or invalidity of that thing. And I think that's a dangerous place to be.
Did Marvin, in his list of things that he avoids, and that was maybe after we stopped recording, did he have leaves?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No leaves.
Yeah, you don't eat that. He said the things that can't be digested.
Roots,
leaves, stems,
the shell of
roots,
a fruit.
The shell of a fruit. Yep, seeds, the seed of a fruit. So we can, we're going to dive into this. We're going to explore it more because clearly, health is the most controversial topic, and within it, certainly nutrition.
It's interesting because even Tom Cowan, who we really respect and revere, he has his company, Dr. Cowan's Powders, which I believed was like dehydrated and fine powders of vegetable leaves.
Yeah,
I thought. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're not. You're not.
So it's worth looking into.
It is worth looking into, and I will retain an open mind to all of it, and I just can't be at a place where I'm pushing supplements. I just can't.
Totally.
I can't.
Dude, I got to tell you, just to circle back to the raw food thing. So, I like to get my raw milk about a half hour south of here at a farm called Old Ford, and I hadn't had it in a while. This must have been around Christmas time when I was just running a lot of errands and driving all around. And I'll preface this with my brother just sent me a picture of some raw milk he found in the Berkshires yesterday. And I said, awesome, well done. And that he found the farm doesn't inject their animals and all the good stuff. But I said, go easy on that stuff the first day. Don't dive in super hard because...
How un-Mike of you.
I'm learning to share the wisdom from my travails. So at this time around Christmas time, I guess it would have been a month ago now, I was really hungry. You're it's a busy time. You're doing errands and running around, and I just hadn't had a good meal. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to hit the farm. I'm down near New Paltz. So I grabbed some raw milk. It had been a while. And like I thought, remember we've said so many times, like, raw milk, you can live off this stuff. Like this will just be my meal.
Yeah.
And I hadn't had it in a while, and oh my god, it went right through me. And I had like I had a lot. I had like half of like one of those big jars, and I could not find a gas station bathroom fast enough. And
That's amazing.
I did make it, but dude, it was a close one.
Yeah.
That was a little reminder, like just
That's
easy.
very Mike of you.
You can drink raw milk all day if it hasn't been a while. You can't just like dive into it and drink.
Yeah.
It was very Mike of me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a funny. I was like, if I had any witness to what I'm going through right now, Ben would just double over laughing.
So that's another one. Yeah, that's another one we've discussed but haven't done is the raw milk, I guess, fast, right? For lack of a better word, is a extended maybe 5 days.
I did that. Yeah, I did that for like 5 days.
How long did you go? You did 5 days of just raw milk.
I think it was about 5 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were good.
I was all good. It was, infinitely easier than a water fast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Did you have food cravings?
No. That's what I tell people. I mean, I think I did it over the summer, maybe early summer, so it's been a little while.
Yeah.
I'm so bad about taking notes on this stuff, but generally because we talk about it on the podcast,
right?
It's like my journal. But no, I was cruising. I wasn't hungry, and that's when I made the declaration: you can live off this stuff.
Yeah,
that's where the conspiratorial part of me was like, that's why it's outlawed, because you could actually get a cow and just live on the stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we were speaking to Pola about yesterday. I guess for the folks that you'll hear a conversation next week or the weeks to come, and we talked about this, right? Like the more that we explore, the more that we discover maybe we don't need food at all.
I know it will before we give up food completely.
Well, food, we should redefine food first.
Redefine it. And even being at the farm, they've got freezers full of all sorts of animals, chicken, pork, beef, raw cheeses, and all this. But it's pretty pricey compared to the grocery store or whatever. But like now with this kind of raw flesh attitude that I'm adopting, you get what you pay for. If it's a like I said, I'm already buying a quarter cow or a half cow, so I've got that on the premises. But like just to expand beyond that and get maybe more of a variety of wholesome animals in my diet that I can consume raw, that's going to be something new to explore.
And then you'll transition eventually to just ether, earthing, sunlight, and milk, raw milk. That's it.
And milk.
That's it. That's it. That's all you'll need. That's all we'll need.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, me. That's the dream.
That's the dream.
The ether diet.
Ether diet. Yeah.
Ether enema.
Yeah. The next band name, opening for Yeast Puss at the Terrain Fest 2025.
No, I think Yeast Puss opens for Ether enema.
Yeah, that makes more sense. But the Ether enema. Yeah.
I mean, that comes right from Pola. She said wherever there's a hole, right?
Wherever there's a hole. Yep. Yeah. Dude. So ozone as part of our diet, ether as part of our diet.
Yeah. And in the meantime, raw flesh.
Raw flesh. Yeah, I'm down. Steak tartare is the gateway.
I mean, like you mentioned, that guy who does the chicken. I'm not going to go and even though I get like organic chicken from Aldi, I just don't think that's the raw chicken that one should be eating. It's been wrapped in plastic. It's been on a truck for a long time, blah, blah, blah. But I think you just need to put more work in on the front end, I think, if you're going to be dabbling with these ideas.
Yeah, listen, again, the farm up the road, they're selling whole chickens. I don't think they're processing. They haven't broken them down. So I don't think they're doing drumsticks or thighs, or haven't in a while. But I've got a whole chicken of theirs in the freezer, and I could thaw that thing and go to town.
You could.
I could what I could do is I could thaw it, break it down, and then just try a drumstick. I'm just gonna try it raw.
Yeah, let us know how that goes. That's crazy.
Picture from urgent care. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Again, break yourself in gently to that adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing raw egg. I've done so many raw eggs at this point that, people think that you're going to get sick from that stuff. And I think, again, it's the quality of the eggs. I'm getting local free range eggs. It's like, I feel great. Never had an issue. Never had a problem.
You get eggs from the neighbors as well?
Get eggs from the neighbors. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah. And listen, two things. This spring, summer, chickens, and I think I'm going to start keeping bees.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Queen bee, Elizabeth Vernon, Elizabeth Sanford. I hit her up and she's got an online course. So she's teaching I think it's like a 2-week course, sort of an intro to beekeeping, which, by the way, I was thinking about that phrase and I think I want to rephrase that. Like, the idea that you are keeping bees seems maybe just not maybe arrogant.
Presumptuous or something. Yeah.
Presumptuous.
How would you reframe it?
I don't know. They're keeping me. I don't like who, who's keeping who here. Well,
Right.
how would you reframe it? I'm throwing it at you for the first time.
I'm thinking about that. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
I'm collaborating with bees.
Yeah, right. Cohabitating or something.
Yeah, I'm cohabitating.
Right.
Co-creating.
Yeah, co-creating.
Anyway, I think I might do her course, and I think that's something I want to do because the neighbors aren't keeping bees, and I could just be that the thing that's complementing whatever else is happening on this hill.
Yeah, well, you are just thinking about the biodiversity of your piece of property. I mean, you already have all those berry bushes which flower.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some amount of forage for them. One of the problems we have around here is there's just not a lot for them to forage on.
Yeah.
And I've heard my neighbors say the same as well. I try to plant wildflowers around. They don't always keep or stick. And they do end up in the garden, which is nice. But so
you need a lot, right? Don't you?
You need to support them in some way. You need you need to increase the diversity of your land. That's a good environment for them.
How far will bees travel away from?
Great question.
Because if they'll travel up to the farm, I mean, it's just up the hill.
Good point.
There's also plenty up there for them to get to.
Yeah, they may well. I know they need to travel for water as well.
Yeah.
You can't have a water source for them nearby.
Yeah.
So there's some nuance to it. And I think from Elizabeth that you need to find bees to cohabitate with that are very well suited to your climate. You just can't get them shipped in from somewhere else, which I think is even though I get them from Hudson Valley Bee Supply, it's called a nuke when you get like a box of bees. I don't trust that they're perfectly suited to where we live.
Yeah, I'll do some
more nuance.
Sure. Yeah, the apiary, like apiaries in New Hampshire, I'll sort of check in on and see what they're doing.
They'll know. Go to the source.
Yeah, but maybe next holiday season, Michael, it'll be some Ben's bee wax.
Dude,
who knows?
Or some honey.
Some honey. Well, yeah, honey for sure.
Yeah, bring it on.
I'll need a name. I'll need a brand name. Can't beat Bomb Bomb. That wins.
No, you can't beat Bomb Bomb.
That wins the naming.
Yeah, Trusty Honey.
Trusty's Honey. I don't hate that.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Horsemouth Honey.
Yeah, that's not as good as Trusty. Go Trusty.
Go Trusty. Trusty's Honey. I love it.
Yeah. I wish you luck on that enterprise. I think that's great.
Yeah, chickens and bees.
Yeah, and it's not like one of the problems we've had with chickens and bees. Not so much bees. Bees, I think, is more just my climate is a challenge with the bees that I've procured. Yeah. But the chickens, you got to be around. You can't go away for weeks at a time unless you have a neighbor who can come and check in on them. So that's one challenge that you don't generally have. You're sort of a homebody. I mean, you get out and about, but you're pretty close to home.
I'm not touring. That's true. I'm not touring, and I've got neighbors who, the neighbors across the street have an older son who maybe you pay him to come over and just check on the chickens or something. I think that would be fine. The other consideration for both the bees and the chickens is predators.
Yes.
So as you've discovered, bear are an issue. I've had one sighting of a bear in my yard this past summer. It was an adolescent, and I think it was finding the berries, but they don't generally hang out too much around here because, again, the farm on the hill have two Great Pyrenees that patrol the area, and they're very vocal, and they do a great job of scaring off most of the predators. And I'm thinking, I wonder if maybe that sort of extends down to my property, just that predators are aware of the Great Pyrenees up there, and they're like, I'm not going to mess. So we'll just see.
You know my advice for chickens in the woods, you need a fully enclosed run with a top on. I would even recommend like just maybe spend some money on straight up chain link fence, walls and ceiling, just the whole thing.
Yeah.
And as much as we love to let them free range, because that seems like the point. I mean, a lot of people just I know people who live in Brooklyn who just have a tiny little backyard and their chickens are just in the coop. They don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So there's different ways to do it. I mean, you do have the space to let them wander, but I think you could err on the conservative side and just keep them kind of penned up, make them like maybe a nice big run that's really well secured, and they'll be happy. And things can't get in. Snakes might get in through chain link, but then you can wrap it with some chicken wire. There's different ways to do it, but think about your defense strategies first and foremost.
Yeah. And people do this similar with bees, don't they? They put chain link fence around them to protect them from bear, I think primarily, right?
Or I have a little electric fence around mine, just a couple wires. I got at Tractor Supply, like super low tech, but some sort of diversion.
Yeah.
For the bigger animals.
Or I just get a Great Pyrenees.
Or get a dog. Yeah. Exactly. All of the above. All the above.
All of the above. All of the above. I love it. Well, for more development to come on that front.
That's exciting, Ben. Good.
Gotta expand, right? Mm-hmm. Every year, gotta add a little something.
That's it. I mean, that's been my strategy. I feel I'm a little embarrassed. My beekeeping has been, or my bee co-creating has been kind of a fail over here. Of my 2 hives, one of them didn't make it through last winter. And then the second one, I don't know. We're in the middle of winter now, but I'm not holding up much hope. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, at least you're making the attempt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do what we can.
Folks, nothing you heard here should be taken as medical advice, as neither Mike nor I are medical experts. Remember that you are light, you are love, and you are your primary healthcare provider. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.